All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for day 3 of Dreamin'. I'm Courtney Trinilia with Circante, and I'm here to introduce my two colleagues. I've got Marcos Duran and Katie Heggie from Circante, who are here to share their guidance on how to maximize the power of landing pages. Welcome, Marcos and Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Courtney. So sorry. And thank you all for taking the time to join us today and to talk about maximizing the power of landing pages. At times, there's so many moving parts, it can feel just like a circus. So let me introduce myself. I'm Katie Heggie, front-end developer here at Circante, and I've been a professional email and web designer since 2007. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Go Braves. And when I'm not troubleshooting a script, I'm usually scratching around the backyard with my family and 2 pugs, attempting to call myself a gardener. Some of you may already know my partner in crime today, Marcos. He's already led a couple of sessions and has been in the Pardot ecosystem for quite a while. Let me stop chatting and let him do a little intro and do some housekeeping items. Marcos?
Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Marcos. Thank you for joining us today. Very quickly, I work for Circante. I help customers with Salesforce Pardot, and then from time to time, I tag team with Katie here on the development side. From what we're going to go ahead and do today is we're going to cover a couple of different things that we're going to go ahead and show you now. So let's go ahead and get started. Oops. Awesome. So just a little bit about Circante. We're a global Salesforce and Pardot consulting firm. We do a lot of different things around Salesforce and Pardot ecosystem. And one of our services, managed services, which includes setting up emails, landing pages, form development. We'll help with setup if you need it. And then we also help troubleshoot. All right. So today what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to talk about just a couple of questions to kind of get us started here. What is possible? Let me go ahead and share my screen. Cool. What is possible? What can we do internally, right? You as your team, what can you do? Or when do you need to hire somebody? And also, do we need any additional effects? Integrations. Oops. Right? So we're going to go ahead and start off with a showcase. And so we're just going to show you a couple of options. Let's see. So what is possible? Let's see. Katie, I think we're getting some feedback from your mic.
Oh, let me mute myself. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. So dynamic content is the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and cover. So just very quickly, dynamic content is a way for you to personalize content within Pardot. You can also add dynamic content to your website, just in case you didn't know that, or landing pages that are either built in Pardot. The first thing that we're going to cover here is how to hide forms from existing customers. So sometimes you may have a content library or a piece of collateral that you're like, hey, I don't want people that we already know are customers to come in here and have to fill out a form. So what you can do is you can use dynamic content and very easily say, is there an email address? Yes or no. If there's an email address in Pardot, there's somebody that's a lead or a customer or something, and you can just give them like maybe a CTA button with the link to the asset. Versus if you don't identify that person being in Pardot, then you can display a form, right? So this can be done in pop-ups. This can be done anywhere on your website. And of course, it can be done on Pardot landing pages. Dynamic content. Thanks, Frankie, for that question. You do need to be on Plus or higher. So if you're on Growth, which is the entry level to Pardot, you will not have access to this. Another way that we can personalize landing pages is based on language. So if you're an enterprise organization that has, offices throughout the world, you may be thinking, hey, I want to personalize my content, right, to be read in the language where the person is coming from. This does require data. There's different solutions usually for your CMS, so your website, where you can translate pages. Dynamic content, if you have a preference in some sort of data format in Pardot and in Salesforce, you are able to use that to then create different versions of it. It is a little bit different in the sense it doesn't dynamically translate, right? Just like a Google Translate would. You do have to create the content kind of like in a static way. But then when they come in, assuming that the person is cookied, we are able to identify, do they prefer Spanish or English or French, and then just show them that piece. And then lastly, with dynamic content, what we can do after somebody fills out a form, we can switch out CTAs, or we can switch out for the pieces of collateral that they would have downloaded. So yesterday, we had a fabulous presenter from Fionta present on using JavaScript and dynamic content to essentially display different, use one form for 40 different assets, and it scales up. So this is a way that we can do that as well. The next cool trick that you can do on landing pages is building multi-column forms. So I work with organizations in engineering and manufacturing and healthcare. And then those particular industries tend to have a lot of requirements for their form fills. So sometimes as marketers, we say, hey, we don't want to have a lot of fields on our forms, right? Because we want to have high conversion rates and obviously give more leads to sales. But sometimes you can't help it, right? Sometimes you're in those organizations that we need all this information to just kind of start a conversation. So changing your layouts to multi-column forms can help essentially make the page less longer, right? And so you can do 2 or 3 columns as you see in some of these examples. And then if they're on mobile, we can change the experience to make it a single column so it's easier for people to input different data. Next, we have multivariate testing. Multivariate testing is a greatly underused feature in Pardot. This is available to all tiers, not just plus and higher. And essentially what this does is you, to put it simply, are doing kind of like an A/B test. What you would do here is you would set up multiple landing pages. And what you're testing for here, similar to like an A/B test on an email, is design. Right? You can change the CTA text. You can switch the top banner. You can maybe switch the positioning of the form. It would involve multiple layout templates, right? Or it could just be one layout template with different content, but it is different individual landing pages. And so essentially what you would do is you would say, okay, when somebody clicks on this link, right, to the main landing page, I want to divert traffic to other landing pages. Same base content, but there's like one or multiple things that you change that you're testing for. Okay. And then at the end, it gives you a report on which one's the winner. There's no set time frame like an A/B test, so you would just periodically go and check, but this is something that you could use. Now, this is not a feature of Pardot. This is what we call a heat map. However, there's free versions out there. There's also paid versions. You may already be using this on your individual website. An example of a heat map software is called Hotjar. Hotjar essentially tracks, and it has a lot of really cool features, but the main one that I'm going to talk about is the heat map. Essentially, you get a visual diagram across different pages on your website or on the Pardot landing page of where people are clicking the most. Why is that important? If you have a really long landing page, right, or a page with multiple CTAs, you may notice, and kind of logical, that the longer that people scroll, the less form fills you get. However, there are ways to say, people are clicking on something and that's not really a link, but people just assume that's a link. Maybe we need to turn it into a link, right? Because if people are naturally clicking on it, we need to make sure that we see that behavior and then adapt our design for that. Again, free versions, paid versions, you can use it on your website and Pardot landing pages. And one of the last things that we can do is last year, in the spring, Circus hosted a higher ed summit. So it was for customers or potential customers or anybody really interested in the education sector who are using Salesforce and Pardot, right? And so one of the things that we did was, in order to cater that experience, we built our custom landing page that had all the sessions similar to, we essentially tried to replicate this application that we're on right now. To various degrees of success. And then one of the things that we used was a chat bot. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Qualified. We do use them on the circonte.com website, and we also use them on our blog, the Spot for Pardot. And you are able to use those not only on your website again, but you are able to use them on Pardot Landing Pages. And they are, you're able to create custom experiences. You can give them free pieces of content. You can route them directly to a sales rep or to a customer support rep. You can send them to a FAQ page. There's so many things you can do with these. Qualify has a lot of other features, but this is just one of the main ones that would interject with chatbots. Teresa, you had a question on heat maps. Are they available on Growth? This is a completely external feature. It's not something that Pardot on its own does. You would have to go through a platform like Hotjar and then integrate that script into Pardot, but it would work on any tier. All right. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Katie to give us some good news, some tips, some freebies, and then go through some hands-on tasks.
Thank you, Marcos. Those are also so informative. So when Marcos asked me what additional features we could present today, I immediately thought of 4 questions that clients ask me all the time. And I've created a demo in Pardot, so what better way than to show you? The first one is we've all been in a situation where we don't use the 9 generic fonts that come out of the box in Pardot, and adding Google fonts is easier than you think. So I just wanted to show how easy that was. You just basically go to google.com or Google Fonts, and you just pick your font that you like. And over to the right, let's see if this was closed. You just hit this little window, open it up, grab the link. There's 2 ways you can import it. You can import it by the link, or you can import it as a style. The style is actually a great tip for you to import a Google font into your email, but we're not going to talk about that today. And then just put the font family as what your Google font is. Let's see, close that out. And I'll show you this in action just in one moment. The second tip or task is how to add Google fonts. How to add font awesome. This isn't used enough in my opinion. Why not have your social icons display on your landing page crisp and perfect? No need to slice these images out and paste them on the page. Just follow the instructions to plug in your font awesome, and follow the instructions on how to add. There's one caveat when adding these icon tags inside of your editor, and I will show you how that would look. If I'm in a Pardot WYSIWYG and I'm adding the link to where my Google font is being pulled in, there's an icon. This is usually empty by default. And if you leave it empty, the Pardot WYSIWYG will actually strip this out because it doesn't like empty tags. So the way around that is just to put a non-breaking space. Save that, and now it's there forever. Let's see, let's pull this out. The third thing is, like, you've spent so much time and energy and resources on creating a video, which is great. We all know we can embed a video. It's cool. We can do that directly in the WYSIWYG. But there's a little tip to creating this and make it mobile responsive. I've included in this deck the instructions on, let me just back up, the instructions on how to add a video to your web page. using the WYSIWYG and what CSS you need to add to your layout template. So that's a good tip to have. And let's not forget to put our videos in. I mean, we definitely spend a lot of resources on it. The fourth is we can put a background image in here, and we can even change the background color. There is a little tool. There's a little known secret in Pardot that is adding the Pardot region to the code tag. That way we can edit our styles directly and include changing out our background image and background color. And don't forget to remove that C data. And what do I mean by that? If I go in and thought I had that open, but I don't, that's okay. I go directly into my landing page that I created as my demo. And if I do a quick edit here, here's where I've added a Pardot region into my code tag. And inside of the WYSIWYG, it automatically populates the C data. So we just take that out for every landing page we have, and voila, we have the ability to change out our background image. Not only that, we can change out our background color, which is right here. So that's about it for the 4 tips, but you know what? Okay, everyone, check under your seats. I wish we can add some of those cool third-party add-ons Marcos talked about earlier, but you're not going to leave here empty-handed today. We'll add a link to the demo page for you to download in the chat, and you get to take home this landing page with the video, with the font awesome icons, and all those features that we just talked about. Cool. I think we are ready to answer some of those questions.
Yep. So one of the questions that I'm sure a lot of you actually have been asking in the chat right now is, have we tried the new Pardot Lightning Builder? Does this work in the new Pardot Lightning Builder? Things like that. So everything that we are sharing today, everybody has access to, right? So this page layout that we're sharing in the chat is a freebie. It gives you all the instructions of what you need to do. We'll give you this deck, and you'll also have the recording. So I know Katie and I went through some of the steps a little bit quickly, but it gives you very clear explanations how to use it. I don't think, there's a lot of really cool freebies online. And Jenna Mobley, shout out to you for being marketing champion and one of our speakers. She asked a few too, but I don't think any of them go into as in depth as this one that Katie went ahead and put together in terms of changing the background colors and things like that. If you guys do have any questions on customizations, or you want something a little bit more custom, feel free to reach out to us at Circante, right? We can make that happen. So going into the Pardot Lightning Builder now. So if you haven't heard of this, just about a week ago, Pardot had a big release with a bunch of different features. So within Salesforce Lightning, if you have Pardot Lightning and a couple of other requirements, you are able to unlock an email builder. That one has been out for a couple of months. Now, as of this week or last week, the new landing page builder has come about. Circante is trying this out, and we're trying it with our new customers. So feel free to subscribe to the spot for Pardot, because we are writing actively on tips and tricks to use this new Lightning Builder. For right now, we have noticed that there's definitely some things that are not as intuitive as they were in the past ones. So we're figuring that out internally, and then we'll write about it and then share with you guys. So please follow us. And then we have a couple of resources. So I wanted to just outline that, we do have a link for our template that it was just shared in the chat. There's also some other ones from other consultancies, and then from Jenna Mobley, one of our friends here at Circante. And then we just have a couple of other resources on how to really maximize the power of landing pages for your demand gen, for your different initiatives and use cases of the platform. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. We can take a couple of questions in the chat. So let's see. Let me stop. All right, we had one question on Cecilia. What are the other requirements? I can't name them on the top of my head, but there's plenty of documentation on how to enable that online. I think one of the requirements is that you have to be on Pardot Lightning. So if you're not that, that's one. I believe connected campaigns is maybe another one. They're not hard requirements. You do have to have certain permissions in Salesforce to be able to unlock and turn certain things on. But working with your admin, or if you're the admin, you should be able to do it. And there's plenty of blogs. I'm going to give a shout out to another one of our speakers, Jen Kazin, who has written about both of this features, email, and landing page builder in terms of a setup perspective. So feel free to reach out to her through the chat on SpotMe or via LinkedIn as well.
I see a question for if I could go through the new landing builder, and as it's not currently accepting custom fonts. I have not had the chance to actually see that new landing page builder yet, but I did watch it with everyone else in the world as they presented it earlier this week. And I would venture to say or guess that you could probably add your custom style directly in an HTML module and just drop your styles in that way. I'd like to play with that to see if we can do that.
Yep. Right, Brian. Yep. So it uses the same builder. So once you enable one, the other, it's just a matter of adding a couple of extra tabs. It is important to note that if you are using an identity license to access Pardot, you will not be able to use the new builders. So you do have to have a full license. How do I troubleshoot any errors with landing page form submissions? Can that be done personally, or would that require tech support? You should be able to do it on your own. It just depends on what the errors are. If you are seeing a metric called errors on your report, that usually means that people are trying to fill it out without filling out what's required. But if you feel that there's something more technical behind the scenes, you can definitely take a look at the code, or if you have any JavaScript on your form, things like that. Feel free to join. I don't know if we still have Genius Bar sessions open, but maybe somebody can help you in one of those. Or feel free to give us a shout, Adrian. So. Yep, Angela, thanks for sharing that. That's exactly the post that I was thinking about. And Brian, I do think that there's some HTML limits as well. Courtney, are we at time, or can we answer one more?
One more, go for it.
Okay. I noticed a comment about the deck not being available until Monday. How long? Okay, so Katie answered that in the chat, and it's going to be available on the landing page. So if you have that freebie, if you go there, she's going to go ahead and add it. So you don't have to wait that long.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcos and Katie. You shared some great tips today on how to jazz out our templates. If you have any questions for our speakers today, you can always reach out to them directly in the event chat, and their contact info is also on the screen. Thanks again for joining us, and a special shout out to our sponsors for their support. Without them, Pardreamin' would not be possible. And speaking of landing pages, continue your learning with the great webinar Bonanza session and put this knowledge to use for building out some registration pages. That's coming up in a few minutes. Otherwise, head over to the agenda and check out the full list. Thanks, everyone.